Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to this new group of servers marathon. I'm glad that you are here, and this gives us the chance, I think, to simply share some of our opinions regarding some important ideas about calling the new group of world servers. I think Steve gave a good idea of all that the Lucis Trust was doing, very plentiful to awaken everybody. And we all have different methods, don't we? So just to say hi to Anne Parker and Annette and Antoinette and Brenda Fisher Stamp and Brennan and Catherine and Dana Marie and Dennis and Diana and Eva and Jeff, hi Jeff, Gloria and Heike and Jan and Joan, Karen, Catherine, Kim, Leslie and Louise, Lynn, Mirna, Nienke, and Reiko, Sarah, Teresa, Winnie. Nice to see Winnie here. And some of you I haven't seen you for quite a while. And it's so good to see you. And RW, I don't know what it stands for, but hi RW. And Reiko, Sarah, and yeah, well, I think I said so. Winnie and Veronica. Okay, and Bill and Michael are here with us to back things up. I just want to catch up a little bit before getting into the subject matter. And basically, I'm going to ask your opinion on certain things. We inadvertently, I suppose we could have avoided the avoidance, but we missed a webinar yesterday. And I've been trying to substitute and talk about a few subjects, especially giving some of the background about the ways we might help the United Nations from the esoteric perspective. When things have not been discussed, that should have been discussed, I try to come in here and see if there is a way to discuss them. Now, and I want to, let's see, I want to make sure, we were discussing about the joy of the Christmas spirit. I think we all have to admit that there's something about this music, the words, the solemnity, joyful solemnity, I don't know what else to call it, that occurs when we turn into Capricorn. And this time we had the new moon too, a new moon in Capricorn, just as we were turning in and passing into the Capricorn area. And I think, you know, what's not realized about Capricorn is that it is actually, in addition to the seriousness of the sign, a sign in which the Saturnalia is celebrated, or used to be celebrated. It's a great festive, joyful time. It means, of course, that the sun is turning northward, and the people of ancient times, they took this opportunity. But in addition to that, there is the influence of Venus. We all know, if we study a little esoteric astrology with the Tibetan, that Venus is the hierarchical ruler of Capricorn. That's a very pure, profound, selfless love. And of course, what has to be understood is that the Christ himself is an initiate of a certain degree in relation to the star Sirius. And let's just say, as Jupiter is to our sun, soul, it's an analogy here, so Venus may be considered in relation to Sirius. Venus is the planet, in my view anyway, in our solar system, most representative of Sirius. And so we have this whole idea of the profundity of the heart. I mean, there's just something so incredibly moving to everybody, and the oneness of humanity in the energy of love and harmony, real love, you know, not just superficial attraction. The oneness of humanity in real love and harmony is somehow brought across. I think it must move so many people at this time, unless, of course, they have some prior antithetical conditioning against the whole idea of Christmas. And we know there have been terrible things done in the name of Christ, just as that is the case in the Islamic religion. Both have a lot of Mars, and we have to remember that St. Paul put a scorpionic coloring onto Christianity. It's not what was meant. And it was the warlike Scorpio and not so much the redemptive Scorpio. So that old blood religion came in, and people began to follow a kind of sadistic way, because Christianity became ruled by Scorpio. And as we all know, that particular sign, especially at the end of an age, has a possible sadistic turn. We also noticed this in Islam, and then the result was that the true Venusian quality, which is truly love and wisdom, Venus associated, among other things, with the heart center of our solar logos, and with Sirius and with the Christ, that did not have a chance, except in certain rare circumstances, to be popular among the people. Even now, when you look at the expectations in Christianity, it's all about the great wars to come, and who will be the victor, and will the devil be defeated, and all the rest of it. Well, in one way, if we look at this astrologically, we can see that Mars is the devil, meaning that the personality is the devil, and Mars is the ruler of the personality and several aspects of it, namely the lower concrete mind, the astral body, and the dense physical body. I'm leaving the etheric body out of the situation there. I don't think that Mars rules that more than any other planet. But Venus is the soul, and Venus is exactly the soul culture that we must begin to feel under the Christ impulse. Now, somehow all of that is latent in the beauty of the Christmas moment. Here in Europe, of course, we get 2 days of Christmas. This is still a day of Christmas. What do they call it? Tapani Paiva today? Is this it? The 6th, 26th, yeah. And a lot of visiting goes on and all that kind of thing. But there's a refreshment there's a renewal, there's a joy, there's a hope, and we must never, because there are so many things wrong with how we look at religion and dogma and all that, we must never let that particular influx of energy, which is so necessary to the human family, we must not let it cease. You know, there are a lot of young people who say, well, we don't have time for that. That's churchianity, that's nothing. You know, we need something real. But this Venusian quality of beauty and deep love and sacrifice, really, is so real that we must be very careful these days not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there's all kinds of ways in which we can just spout dogma, and it's empty, and nobody wants that anyway. But there is a deep and joyful presence. Now, where does that really come from? Is it Syrian? Is it Venusian? We're told that at this time, the constellation Capricorn, which is one of the mighty constellational lords, is even impelled by a still greater constellation. I have a feeling that it may well be the greater part of the Pleiades. I can't say that for sure. There are many things that are hidden about this. But we are touching the depths and the heights. Remember when he said that the worst and the best people are born in Capricorn, and we're trying to look at the best part. We're talking about, well, difficult for me to speak of it. But you know, Charles Dickens, does anybody know or remember his chart? I should know his chart. I don't know if you can look it up. Charles Dickens wrote this story called A Christmas Carol. Why is it so lasting and deeply, deeply popular in the psyche of West? It's redemption, isn't it? Yeah, think of it. Think of Ebenezer Scrooge as he was, and think of him on Christmas morning. This turn is what we're talking about. And this is the real thing. And Dickens had it. He had the heart. He had the heart of humanity, and he knew what the first initiation was all about. And Ebenezer Scrooge was undergoing the first initiation. And that joy, the joy he felt when he dropped all of that third aspect stuff and only used it for good purposes, that's the joy that we can experience at this Christmas time. So we were going to discuss a little bit about that joyfulness of the Christmas period. There's also a few other things we were going to discuss, if only I could find them. Maybe this is it. We've had so many different little snippets and aspects that it's a miracle that we've got anything in order here at all. But we managed to have some things in order. So here is the, I'm trying to go down here to the 26th, and here's the 20th. So that was the glory of Christmas. And you know, think of it. The Christ is a transfigured initiate in relation to the star Sirius. And when we're talking about glory, the first time glory enters the picture is when the Christ in the body of Jesus takes the three disciples out into the desert, and he is transfigured, glorified before them. So we're talking about the third initiation here and the great glorification, the promise of the glory of humanity. Okay, so we were going to discuss that, and I just did a little bit because I don't want to leave something out just because I'm no good at handling schedules. But you can ask my wife about that. That's a different matter. Okay. And then she read that beautiful story about the three kings and the fourth king, Artaban. Now that is humanity. Artaban is the server who never manages to catch up with the initiate kings, but somehow along the way does all the right things until he's left completely bereft of the gifts that he would give to the king. But Christ doesn't need his gifts. The gift is the redemption of lives. That's the gift. So he spent his, what was it, a ruby?
Ruby, sapphire, and the
Pearl.
precious,
A pearl of great price. Ruby, sapphire, and a pearl of great value. And he redeemed human beings along the way. And finally, just like poor Cyrano de Bergerac, you know how he died. It was a murder, but anyway, they shoved some kind of roofing off. It hit him in the head and fractured his skull. It's the same thing. So someone here is familiar with the Cyrano story or one way or the other. And as he's lying dying, he understands somehow that he succeeded where he had thought he failed because he helped so many people. You see.
yes, as he was hearing this, verily, verily, I say unto you, what you have done
To the least of these,
that you have done.
that you have done to me. What you have done to the least of these. Now look.
That's why you know the gifts were to the Christ. So when he was giving the gifts away,
Yeah.
so he actually gave them to Christ.
Exactly. Giving that to Christ in the real spirit of the giving. It's a beautiful story. I'd love to see it or hear it read every Christmas. And you know what I mean? Always trying to catch up. Look, you've got the mental body. You've got the astral body.
We have sort of lost your voice here.
Oh, and you know what you should have? Is a very distant microphone.
Thank you.
But now I'm back on. But don't worry, I can yell. So the fourth is the physical body. And it's always behind, and it has to be redeemed. And in a way, Artaban, there are three principles: mental, emotional, etheric, in the lower part. But the physical body is not a principle. And it needs to be principled, reprincipled. And so he goes and he tries very hard, much harder than the three kings. They know what they're doing, there it is, it works, they're directed. But Artaban, and I don't know where that story comes from to you. Do you know? And make sure you speak up, because if I tell me, Michael, I'm going to put Tuya on this other mic. You speak up strongly.
I'm checking the author.
Henry Van Dyke.
Was it
Henry Van Dyke.
Okay, I got that down. Okay.
Right, it sounds slightly Dutch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yes. Correct.
Well, anyway, it's a great gift. That story is a great gift. And that is part of this Christmas spirit, which must not be extinguished. Whatever you think of dogma, whatever you think of repeating the same old things or the same old Christmas carols. My dad was in business and I was helping him a little bit. Maybe I was more of a pain than a help. But every Christmas, out came the Christmas records to get the people in the right mood to buy things, you know. And I just heard those year after year after year. But still, there was something. It's indefinable and beautiful. Now, as we went ahead, let's see what else we may have skipped along. We had our esoteric, establishing the esoteric United Nations. We'll say more about that as we go, but I ran into a trouble. My temple computer here just refused to work for 5 hours, and suddenly it just worked. So I had to do a lot of switching around, and hopefully you still get it. Then we had a good discussion, I think, on our spiritual duties, some good readings, and remember the great mantra of aspiration. I seek the way I yearn to know. Oh no, that's the heavy one. That's the heavy one. I play my part with stern resolve, with earnest aspiration. I look above, I help below, I dream not nor I rest. I toil, I serve, I reap, I pray. I mount the cross, I tread the way. I tread upon the work I do. I mount upon my slain self. I forego peace, I forfeit rest. And in the stress of pain, I lose myself and find myself, thus entering into peace. To all this, I most solemnly pledge myself, invoking my higher self. I passed the grade? Okay, all right. But you know, when you join the arcane school, that's the first thing off the tip of the tongue. Hopefully we mean business. Now, something got cut in the afternoon. Via BL and Michael, we're sending out 2 new video programs. They were called telepathic communications. We got into a bit of a mess on that, but really there are various points concerning the new group of world servers. And there are so many wonderful points here in this 212-page compilation. We could be working on it for a month or more. And then there's this whole thing that we've been discussing on the new group of world servers and the United Nations. And tomorrow, when we take up the work, the serving work of the 7 ashrams, we'll get a better idea of how those 7 ashrams can work in relation to the United Nations. And basically all I've said here, this is a little review, okay? All I've said is use everything you know esoterically to help the good exoterically. That's all I'm saying. It's very simple. And we have the means to do that. So now we're up to the point where we're having our kind of international webinar, and I've invited various people, and other people have come along, and we're grateful for your presence. And it's basically a discussion. And we're going to do our best to hear you. through our tiny little speaker here. I don't know if this would help.
Michael, I have a message from Sasha
Yes.
because he's on his trip, so he doesn't have the access now. So,
Oh, you have a message from Sasha. Good. Because basically, look, there are some people that are really working hard on the 2025 initiative and on the whole idea of 2025. You know, oh yeah, of course I'm recording, and don't say of course because anything can happen. And of course, the Lucis Trust is one, and the 2025 initiative, which Alexander Ilchuk and Katya are running. And so I've asked some of those people who are intensively involved, they want to show up. Uta is having her own discussion tonight. So in the Hechal group, and I forget what does Hechal mean again? Holy Spirit, I'm sorry, it's a Hebrew word, right? Anyway, some people can come, some not, and we all have our ideas. So Tuya, please, but with volume, or do you want to come over here?
yes, because it's in the mobile.
Okay. Well, bring your.
Maybe I will put this connected to this. And then
put it
your
connected.
mic will catch this, I think so.
Here, if you put it, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. It'll be better this way, if you can.
Uh-huh.
That just means
No, I cannot. Or unless we take this way.
No,
why?
so we're gonna play his message.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, we can take that out.
That's right.
Here, this one here. Okay.
And your mic will catch this.
Maybe.
So.
Maybe.
So
Let's see.
First I will put
Let's see. It will definitely catch it if you put it here. Definitely.
Yeah, but then we don't hear. This one hears here better.
Okay, we're another experiment in technology. If we were running the space program, it would be in a different state.
Well, okay, we'll try. So this is from Sasha, Alexander Ilchuk.
Living in Ukraine. This is Alexander. Today we had a very good meeting with the group here in Kiev, and one of the impressions that was shared in the circle was that.
Put it here. What happened?
And functions and programs that multiple.
What's happening? Something.
1 second.
Just bear with us, please. We were trying to take it off the telephone. Yeah, that's the question. Is the telephone turned up sufficiently?
Oh, this. Maybe the batteries were off.
Uh-huh. Is that plugged in strongly right there? Okay, let's try it. Because Alexander is one of the leading lights in this preparation for 2025.
For the reappearance of the Christ.
No.
First establishing.
But it is not.
No.
This is not. It is not sounding at all.
Not responding. Give that to me. And
I think that the batteries are off.
okay, you press that. And now.
Greetings from Kiev in Ukraine. This is Alexander. Today we had a very good meeting with the group here in Kiev, and one of the impressions that's been shared in the circle was that with all the diversity of groups and roles and functions and programs that multiple hundreds and thousands of groups around the world have, it's important to have the unity in purpose. And it's important to agree on that common purpose for the next 7 years. And as a suggestion for that common purpose came what Decay outlined for like 4 criteria for the reappearance of the Christ. First, establishing the measure of international peace. Second, introducing the principle of sharing in the field of economy and finance. Third and fourth, cleaning the house of religion and politics. If we can agree on those 4 as a common purpose, and each will use own group intuition to modify, adapt, and qualify that purpose through own actions for the next 7 years, that could be our program. That's a suggestion impression was shared. It can be something else, but the idea of having unity in purpose agreed between different groups, I think it's something for us to take out as a outcome of this festival week. And another one, impression that last 7 years, the world group mastered the realization of unity. We realized ourselves as one world group. In the next 7 years till 26, our task is to master our skills in action and to become effective in our meditation and in our spiritual practices and techniques. Much love and light and will to good to all of us, standing together and each of us in own field of service as an active station of force, active force that expresses will to good through our own radiance magnified with own life and own skillful actions. Much love.
Okay, that was great. And we managed to get the little blue box functioning as it should.
And so this is the via WhatsApp. So this is just wonderful how clear the message is, and the thing is that if we do not have time or something that participate, we can now send our messages like this. And I think this is really valuable.
Tuya will set us up, right, dear? Wouldn't
Yes.
that be good?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So that gets our theme going. And we can't do anything more with it, or should not right now. Yeah. Okay. So friends, he suggests that the 3 requirements which have to take place before the Christ can reappear must be the 3 requirements which we take to heart and which we try to establish in our circles and within our own nature. And I think it's, of course, an excellent idea, however the groups manage. However they manage that. Now, when I call on you or you volunteer, please speak slowly and distinctly, okay? Because this was a good, I don't know whether we can plug that in over there or not. Do you think so? Is there a place, Ario? Is there a place in that little, a little place where this will go, or is there not? And you know, I don't want the whole thing. What, dear? My computer.
Yes, but people are taking your computer.
Yeah, but I just don't know how to do that. You know, I don't, because usually it's speaking, isn't it? All right, let's just see what happens here. Farewell. Okay. Now is that on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. Okay. So, is there anybody right here in this room, to get the ball rolling, that would like to offer in strong voice your opinion about how to call the world's servers in every country to act in the best way and the most effective way? Anybody that would like to address that? Or if you'd like some chance to think about it, then maybe one of the people in our group can either write what they think or can speak it. So if you have something you'd like to say, you raise your hand. And if you, here we go. All right, so this is Martin, and he's a member of these groups from Argentina who is working so hard towards the work of 2025. All right, Martin, self-muted. Okay, unmute yourself, Martin.
Hi, Michael. Thank you.
You're good.
Yeah, like a question and as a comment as well. I see here in Latin America that people are sometimes, people of goodwill, the ones who already have a vision of where things should go, at least a faint sense of having a world and working for society. I see that sometimes they are lost in criticism and in a way in inaction. Perhaps even the esoteric workers believing that just being aware or being very strong subjectively towards a certain line is enough. And I wonder up to what point the true esoteric work involves something in the etheric dimension. No, this is like I see on the one side, Dot Maver, she's very emphatic, quoting the Tibetan about focusing on solution, not just using our energy to criticize or creating opposition. So I think this would be energetically very fruitful for all of us if we could help global awareness to focus more on solutions. And I wonder up to what point we as esoteric workers, what else can we do? Right? Maybe this is an open question for us to reflect. Probably already meditating and having had so clear in our minds the future, as Alexander was saying 10 minutes before, is already very helpful. So this is what I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Now look, is there anybody here who thinks they can summarize what Martin just said? Say, Maria, you speak Spanish.
I may say focus on solutions and criticism, how we face criticism.
Okay, the first one was focus on solutions, and the second one.
Yeah, the second one is how we as people of goodwill face the energy of criticism. The people who want to do something but they get lost in the middle of critics or opposition, right? What can we do energetically?
So now, Maria, how would you summarize the second one? Ah, yes, and of course, there's more, and of course, not to generate it.
Martin, just for you, we have the system, what we have is somehow making the words mumbling. It's very hard to catch these the speeds in the sense that we have to really hard concentrate that we can hear.
Yes, of course, and then for English speakers, there is the accent that all of us different people have in different ways. Okay, you know, now I just want to repeat. Does anybody here remember what the Tibetan called criticism? How he named criticism? You recall, it's a very interesting way that he described in a short sentence criticism.
The door to all other glamours.
Do you say it's the worst, Michael?
The door to all other glamours.
Okay, that's good. And that's good. Thank you. And what else? Yeah, that was Michael in Hawaii, and you're not.
Something like it's just running on my tongue.
Because it's unusual words. Unusual words.
Something tired.
It's not tire, but it's dire. That dire creator of misery. Criticism, that dire creator of misery. And you know what misery is? It's deep unhappiness. So
can we discuss about that? How do we face the criticism? Was that what Martin was saying?
How to manage, how to face that. Look, here's the thing. When the Tibetan says to you, let me help you analyze your problem, is he criticizing you? See, he says it all the time. Let me help analyze your problem with you, for you. He has an insight into your issue, but it's analysis within the field of love. It's a different thing altogether. And criticism is, you know, pointing the finger and belittling. And Master Moria said an interesting thing. He says, one will have to stoop very low to find the fruits of criticism, meaning there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Okay, Martin, well, we're going to take your words to heart.
Yeah, but the question is how to face these. And we discussed about that, how to face.
Well, I just have one thing to say, with divine indifference. And to realize that the critical person is probably unhappy within themselves and is projecting the criticism upon ourselves when he feels or she feels unconsciously affected by the very fallibility. This happens all the time. In politics, it's just crazy now. Everybody is calling the other guy what's wrong with the caller. Amazing. Okay. So any thoughts here about how to deal with criticism? Because I'll tell you what, You know, sometimes the Alice Bailey groups are considered, oh, these are the mental critical people. See what I mean? It's not meant to be that way, but that is the way they are sometimes addressed. So, any thought about that? How would you face criticism, especially if it's unjust? If it's just, you know, if the shoe fits, that's another matter. Okay? How would you face that? I mean, look at the Christ. My gosh, the degree to which he was criticized, extraordinary. But how does he face it? Okay, so Master Jesus, or the initiate Jesus, is in the Roman headquarters, and everybody is basically tearing him apart. What does he do? He doesn't say, look, you shouldn't do that. That's not really right, blah, 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 blah. Complete silence. That's one of the ways to go. And DK points that out, the silence. The other thing is to really know the person who is criticizing you and why they may be doing so. And that's based on what? Identification, which is a high state of love with the person who is offering the criticism. And that can be very hard because you say, this criticism is unjust. I'm not that way, you know. Methinks, as they say in Macbeth, methinks the lady doth protest too much. You know, the story of the murder of King Duncan, and Macbeth's wife goes through this extravaganza of emotion, and it's an alert to others that something is not quite right. Okay, let's see who the, Anna has a question mark here. Let's see what we can see here. So the first one's from Anna, and then we have also Sarah, and Sarah again. Okay, I'll see what I can do, because I understand you don't really see this. And BL and Michael, we might be able to put this in the chat box, as Joe sometimes does, and then everybody can see everything.
I'll try and do that, Michael.
Okay, thanks. You hear BL very clearly, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has a sharp, clear voice. Okay, well, we have to do our best. We cannot, says Anna, call for world peace while we are still fighting within, fighting self-destructive shadows that are wreaking havoc on our peace of mind. I guess we all have these dweller on the threshold factors, you might say. The outer reality is a reflection of the inner reality, both individually and collectively. Both, the sooner we realize that, the sooner we understand that mandated change by force will always be doomed to fail. We will simply match up to the reality we resonate with at the moment. Change yourself, change the world. We can take pause and reflect on the words of the Sufi poet Rumi when he said, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself." That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, you know, the wise words, Anna. My impression is, of course, we can make many changes without perfection on the part of the ones calling for change. We're moving in that direction, but we can't wait until we're perfect. We simply move, greater peace within us, but not the kind of peace that is relaxation. more a dynamic equilibrium, different from just saying, oh, it's very restful in my astral body now. It's not that kind of thing. Clean up our house? Yes. Before we can. It was so interesting in some of the political things, the very people who were conducting the investigation, people who had done the same thing that the investigated one was being investigated for. So, you know, seeking influence from other countries. So they had been on trips seeking influence from other countries, and it didn't bother them. It didn't bother. They were, the hypocrisy, they were able to go ahead with it. Okay, so thank you, Anna. And look, I'm sure every one of us is working on the right kind of peace, but remember that the fourth ray is harmony through conflict. And I've written about it in my Rays book and all that. You could have a premature peace, which is false. And it's just piece of one little part. It's not looking at the whole picture. So let's be wise enough to look at how that peace is to be achieved. And sometimes you have to go through struggle to do it. DK says, are you having a crisis? Well, if you're not, why not? You know, it's a Scorpio kind of question. You should have a crisis. Yes, Margot, yes.
One thing that is what we need, that just everyone here knows all about goodwill. But people in the world often don't want to. How we really truly bring goodwill, how we feel about the person, the situation, even if we don't agree. That's a very powerful force in and of itself.
Yes.
And a lot of people, you know, we take it for granted because it's so part of our teaching and our agreement and understanding. But it is really an important thing to an aspect of mental and emotional feeling within oneself. And it does work magic, actually.
Yeah, that's why world goodwill is so important. Now, when you know, I'm going to switch back. I have to keep switching microphones. When it says goodwill is love in action, you realize you are combining two aspects of divinity, right? Two aspects of divinity, and they're not easy to get together. So, you know, people can talk a good and virtuous game, but do they put it into action? That's where people like ourselves have to do it, and we have to encourage the doing of it, because goodwill is a tremendous force in the world.
And really, no one disagrees with that. When you express it, no one says, I don't want it. They say, oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, yeah. They don't disagree, basically,
right.
But trying it and doing it is another matter, isn't it? Well, look, we have, all of us realize that 2025 is a big year, the conclave. Now, probably no one in this room has lived through the previous conclave, or you're over 100. So this is our first conclave, when all the forces of hierarchy get together, and Shambhala as well, and the direction is determined on the most important planetary event of the times, the externalization of the hierarchy. Not for millions of years has it occurred, and the reappearance of the Bodhisattva, reappearance of the Christ. So these are very special times, and everyone here has the choice. Do I take it as special, or do I just go along with what I'm doing? It's okay. Do I just go along? You know what I mean? Now, Sarah writes, I believe the best way to address this issue is to work without expecting results. Now, you've heard that plenty, haven't you? To work without attachment to results. We're told that all the time, are we not? And that's really a detached point of view, because usually attachment to results is attachment to lower ego. So often. She goes on and says, as an esotericist, it is important to engage in community work whenever we are given opportunity to do so. You know, Master Moria has a book, doesn't he? Little red book. It's called New Era Community. Have you read that? You know, remember, even though there are some translation problems in the Agni Yoga books, they do give you something which no other books do give, because it's the yoga of synthesis written from the will angle, from the first ray angle. DK is writing the yoga of synthesis from the second ray angle. Both are necessary. Best way, says Sarah, to call upon nations to act towards goodwill, create a collaborative effort towards all organizations dedicated towards goodwill. And by the way, internally, when we visualize this happening, we're going a long way towards helping that kind of outer creation to occur. Okay, find a synthesis point to create opportunities for those who are behind in society. It's a big order. It's a big order. Well, everybody has to find their own way. Look, we can't help everybody. So who are you supposed to help if you can't help everybody? Many worthy causes appear before you. Who do you help? And I would say, and probably you have your own ideas, of course, you help those who can be helped in other ways by other people, but not in other ways except by you. So he basically says this, look, don't waste your time chasing after methods of service that are well handled by others, but have the humility to work exactly in the area that you are responsible for and that others cannot do. Now, think about that for just a minute in your life. I mean, look, it doesn't mean you ignore the kind of help that karma presents to you and that you're called upon to assist. It doesn't mean that. But it means when you look for your area of service, it's got to be something uniquely yours to give, which doesn't mean you ignore other things when they come along, because they may be part of the karmic flow. I've always felt, I don't know, there's so many ways to help, right? the goodwill, world goodwill, the Arcane School, Lord Lucis Trust service activities. Everybody's got to pitch in on triangles, because he says this work must go on. Now, why is he going to say that? Must is a big word. I've always felt that the word assimilation, for me, determines the help I might offer. To try to help people assimilate this wonderful, voluminous teaching in a way they can understand and apply. That's my angle. Now, maybe your angle is something different. Yes, Maria Rosa. What I want to make is, yeah, come.
My voice is not. I'm having the idea that how is the hierarchy trying to reinforce the hands of the new group of world servers now, because the idea that comes to me is that we can become more radiant. And then whatever we do, it doesn't matter with activity, as you said, we have to help in the matters or areas we are called to, but we can do it more radiantly, with showing more love, whatever we do.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if this extra energy that we are receiving can be employed in this way.
Look at the 7 methods of service. How many have read in esoteric psychology, under the 3rd law of the soul, the 7 methods of service? How many of you have read that? Because if you haven't read that, you're missing out on a big deal. It's not long, but it's really important. It's in the 160s of Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2. And then you have 10 C groups. I know most of you have read about the C groups, correct?
Yes.
And maybe you can name them. Can you? Pretty much.
You're very weak, Michael.
What?
You are very weak.
Oh, I'm weak.
Oh.
And here I'm trying to, thank you. Let me know. It means I've forgotten to, I've forgotten. Okay, so telepathy, spiritual telepathy, observers of reality, healers, esoteric healers. I'm doing them in order. Esoteric educators. Moria Federation has a lot to do with that. Political workers. Workers in the field of religion. Number 6. Scientific workers. Number 7. The new psychologists. Number 8. Economic servers. Number 9. Interesting, the 9, 3rd rate. And finally, the synthesis with 27 people in the last magical workers in the field of creative magic. So before you jump into that one, its personnel is chosen from the other 9. So 3 from each one. And look, you know what's really interesting? 27, important number, right? When you look at the new esoteric schools, and I'd love to show you a picture of it if I could, the number 27 appears. And I'm not sure that I can find my way, but particularly right at this moment, documents, browse Letters on Occult Meditation, page 299. And now I'm just going to go down here and see if there's a picture. You keep your eyes open too. Somewhere here, we just had a meditation on this, you know, in the, I just want to show you about this number 27. I don't know if I'm skipping over it or what's going on. No, I must have gone too fast. But anyway, to make a long story short, there are going to be 24 students in these advanced esoteric schools. Of what great center is the number 24 the number? Does anybody know? It's the Shambhalic number. It represents Shambhala. Okay, and 3 teachers who are not really teachers at all, but they're experienced guides for those who are having the higher experiences. Now, somewhere here is the setup where there are 24 positions and then 3 on top, 27 again. So all of this is ruled by number, no question. And somehow, you know, I can't find it right now, but it's there, believe me. Okay. In the Aquarian age, tremendous changes in a sign ruled by Uranus principally. Even though Uranus is the orthodox ruler, you know, like exoteric ruler of Aquarius, it's also the overall general ruler. It's the highest of the veiled hierarchical rulers, veiled by the moon. Uranus is the highest ruler in Aquarius. Okay, so we have a lot to look forward to in that. Now, let's take a look over here at how we're doing among the attendees who are out there. And here is Jan, and she has something to say. And it's going back to this question of criticism. Look, you know how it is. When you feel great about yourself, I mean, really feel that way, not a fake way, you do not criticize other people. Have you noticed that? Okay. So Jan says, maybe criticism comes from the mistaken perception that we are responsible for correcting another person's behavior or opinion. I think in some cases, Jan, it could come from that sense of over responsibility. In some cases, it's just plain malicious, belittling. And the only way to feel good about yourself, so these mistaken people think, is to cut someone else down. You've seen it, haven't you? It's happening all the time. And it's not real. That's not a real wholesome love of what you're doing and feeling joyful in what you're doing. The joyful person is in the middle of the soul. And why should they criticize? They're not. They might say with DK, may I help you analyze this issue? And if you say no, they'll be quiet. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jan. And Anna responded, and pretty much everybody has responded. Is there anything we want to say about how to call in the people to be true servers? I think Steve said it very well the other day, you know. He was talking about the work of Lucis Trust and the Arcane School. If you find a way to help people not only connect with their soul, but become their soul, they will automatically serve. Isn't it so? It's a primary instinct of the soul, just like grasping for oneself is a primary instinct of the personality. So to give is of the soul, and to grasp is of the personality. It's so simple. Yes, dear.
I just have something about courage, what I would read.
Okay, please. I just want to make sure that we hear you the best possible way. I'm going to leave it on this.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Will you speak up?
Like if I speak like this?
Yes, good enough, I think.
Okay. About anything else, I wish you were courageous, more courageous. Does that word surprise you, my brothers? In considering this year as a whole, I question not your devotion or your steadfastness. I have confidence in the depth of your aspiration and your desire for the will to good. I know that naught will turn you for any length of time from the pursuit of your goal. I do, however, question your courage. It takes courage to make spiritual decisions and to abide by them. It takes courage to adjust your lives, daily and in all relations, to the need of the hour and to the service of mankind. It takes courage to demonstrate to those around you that the present world catastrophe is of more importance to you than the petty affairs of your individual lives and your humdrum contacts. It takes courage to discard the alibis which have prevented you from participating to date in the all-out effort which characterizes today the activities of the hierarchy. It takes courage to make sacrifices, to refuse time to non-essential activities and to deal with the physical body as if it were free from all impediments. It takes courage to ignore frailties which may be present.
Wait, repeat that.
It takes courage to ignore frailties.
What is the word?
Frailties.
Weaknesses.
Okay, it takes courage to ignore frailties which may be present. The tiredness incident to a long life, the physical tendencies which handicap and limit your service, the sleeplessness which comes from work pressure or from a bad irregularity in your life program, and the nervousness and strain which are the common lot today. It takes courage to attack life on behalf of others and to reiterate your own wishes in the emergency and need.
That's a great paragraph. That's from Dinah 1, is it?
Yeah. 42.
Dinah 2.
Dinah 2, 42.
It's hard. Did I hear Hachu? Or 2? That is hard to live up to, isn't it? So DK says, yes, you're devoted. Yes, you are persistent, but you're not courageous enough and you're too old. I'm partially joking, but he says, I could wish you all were younger and had more courage.
But that is an interesting question, isn't it? That the master is hoping disciples to be younger. So what does it mean? Because the body is the older one.
Yeah, all it means is to have a vehicle that will withstand your intentions. You know what I mean? There's an old saying, you know it. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. You've heard it. The spirit wills and says, yes, we're going to do this. And the body.
But how to cultivate courage? What method one can use?
Confidence in the immortal God, DK tells us. If you know you are the immortal God within, there's all kinds of things you may do that are even dangerous that you wouldn't do otherwise. That's one of the big things. You know you are the immortal inner God. That's one of the big ones. What else do you think, Tuya? I think you have a lot of courage.
Well, this is yeah, that is a question I think also very much related to the rain. That secondary type fears. And the first rate type can fear, but the method is different because the first rate goes against the fear. It faces and go against.
First ray may fear, but goes against, and the second ray may go in the opposite direction.
That's right.
Yeah, but look, the more you know, look, the more you know, you are indestructible. And not only just words, you know it because you've had the experience of being indestructible, then you may just jump into the fire if needed. If needed. Now, usually we're so identified with this that we don't want to, be separated from this. But what if we just can leave the body whenever we want? What if we can stand apart and be our full self and the body is just there, just an instrument? Then it's not the same thing as annihilating yourself, is it? It's different.
So how do you think how courage should be cultivated?
It's a question that's arising. Okay? No, I'm just telling the group here.
Okay.
Yeah, it says that you do such things which you first are afraid of.
Mm-hmm. Start with the first step.
Yes.
And people are afraid of different things.
That's true.
First-rate people are, if they're really, really first-rate, they're afraid intimacy. You wouldn't think, second-rate types are afraid of being hit, smashed, impacted, that kind of thing. Third-rate types are afraid of being stupid. And on it goes. He wandered, fifth ray, he wandered in a darkness deep of ignorance. He saw no reason for this way of life. There's some marvelous things about the law of repulse and how we start out and have to overcome those things. The fourth ray is, I don't know. What's it afraid of? Everything. I don't know.
They have anything? There is also a courage of the soul.
Well, the courage of the soul.
Primary keyword in the development formula and the C, CDP. And this is what detail trying to encourage her to develop. Courage of the soul.
And the courage of the soul will be there if you know you are the soul.
She never believed in herself that she as a soul had the capacity to do that. And this was a major problem. She was highly developed as a soul on the inner planes, but no expression out because of the fear. Fear was another issue with her, that we had to encourage her for every little step forward, and you know, she just didn't make it, basically.
It sounds like a good case of the second ray, you know.
Yeah.
But eventually, look, we discover, here's what we discover. First ray type discovers it, and I'm going to just show you what he says. I think a good thing to you, what you're emphasizing here. Let me show you how the first ray type fits this. So the first ray type is willing to see everything destroyed. So it happens. Destruction comes. Let the soul look out upon a world destroyed. And then comes the surprise. Then let the word go forth, I still persist. Meaning it hasn't touched me. Everything I thought was me was destroyed, but here I am. Now that's got to be a pretty impressive lesson. It's like being able to come and go in your body or out of your body. You know, when you have 6 petals open, completely open, it's much easier to come and go out of your body. But in Atlantis, there was a lot of that. These days, the second initiation, 6 petals, you can go in, you can go out, and you can be used. Okay. Is there anybody here in the group, in the world out there that has something you want to say? I think
Michael.
Annette, yes, BL.
You do have a couple of comments in the question block, and RW has his hand up.
Okay, I'm looking. Well, RW has his hand up. Okay, let me, as long as I'm here, I'll call upon you, RW. But I'm having there we go. Okay, you can speak.
Greetings all for this, on this solar eclipse and new moon. It's an honor to be amongst your company. I'll try to be as brief as possible. To speak to being fearless, as the sister in the audience was asking about. There are many examples of fearlessness of the wife of the initiate Abraham. She was of a mature age, and she had to be fearless and go down to Egypt and go through that initiation, as well as the sister Ruth or the sister Esther, who ended a conflict in what we knew as, in the country we know, Syria. So there are many documents of women overcoming their fear to engage with, to bring peace. Yes, we all grow old. It must be something that we eat. And we have to put on that new personality to become new servers. To do that,
is everybody making out fairly clearly? Just summarize for me. My ears are a little bad.
Oh, I raised the microphone.
One second. What would someone summarize for me? Go ahead.
Name women in the Bible who were fearless.
Oh, Judith. Holofernes and Judith. Well, that was a big one. And who did she say? Sarah, or who did he say?
Sarah and Esther.
Esther.
Ruth.
So these are from the Purim times, and yeah, okay, indeed. And I'll tell you what, too, you can be forced. What is it? I know that. I'm summarizing up to a point. It's just to make sure that we're with you. And Ario is trying to help us be as clear as we can be. Let's see if it works. I know. You can be so surrounded by evil forces that to ascend into a higher state is the only way. That's what Moria tells us. They surround you, the only way is up into a more exalted state. Okay, RW, go ahead.
Well, thank you. Yes. I hope you can hear me a little bit more clearer now. But I think the number one challenge for this time to bringing new servers is our fear of the youth. We all have an unhealthy fear of the youth, and it's a challenge to find those youth that needs our mentorship and guidance while they are on their path, because there are many, as you suggested, forces of darkness that causes us to stumble. Just a suggestion, I'll be at the UN often, and many youth are seeking mentorship on how to do this work of sustainable development. The last thing I would like to say is,
thank you. I'm going to ask for a little summary due to my hearing condition.
Sure.
Can anybody help me get the main points?
What I heard him say was that you are looking for mentors, and that we as adults are somewhat fearful of the youth. We don't know how to identify perhaps and relate. Is that correct, RW?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I'm going back to the Don Juan books, and I was not a great reader of these books, but my son was. And somehow, to be a true teacher of these kinds of things, you had to have banished fear, because there are some pretty awesome, demanding situations that you can get into when you're playing with time and space. And what he calls, I got this from my oldest son, what he calls the assemblage points, which is where you can put together, you can move someplace and build your whole personality right around a point of power. So big seventh rate magical things. Let's just say that if we finally get the idea of what it's like to be independent of our body and to be the immortal self, it will drastically cut down on the fear we usually experience. So thank you, RW.
Yes, yes, I wanted to conclude. That wasn't the main point. The main point I wanted to share was that if this was, let's consider that if this was 400 years ago or 1,000 years ago, this study of the seven rays would have been nothing more than just astrology. And the call to action perhaps would be called alchemy.
Alchemy.
We would be taking, you know, these irons and brass, and we want to make some value of it. So 400 years later, today, these astrology has been what these books of astrology we would have called almanacs. Thank you for the commentary that you've been providing online on Alice Bailey. I see those as the almanacs of these great wisdom that she has revealed. And now the call to action, I believe, is the bringing to fruition of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Those are the results. We don't want to be attached to, I understood the comment about not being attached to results because that creates limitations. And that's so we don't want to have that ego-driven result concept, but we definitely want the fruition of the spirit, and that is what we have universally recognized as the human rights. And so I challenge everyone to read that again and try to read that again as often as we like, because the full development of our personality, we have the tools to achieve that. That keeps us youthful, that keeps us in motion, and it will free so many people's minds and hearts from the glamours, because they are more than just civil rights that people are fighting for. These human rights have not been revealed to everyone. There are many people in worlds who do not recognize clean water and as a right and not just a privilege of the gods. So we are in a battle to reveal these rights to people. And I believe that is what the alchemy is. That is what this work is of this work of the seven rays. So please, I challenge everyone to continue to try to read these, as difficult as it might seem, to remember to read it. These Universal Declaration of Rights is the magical document. It would have been looked at as a highly esoteric document 400 years ago. But now we have it in all languages, and if we can share that and read that again to remember, that is the fruit, is the and the results that we want to be able to say that we've done what we can in 2025. We have opened the way so that the work of the elders can be received. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, R.W. Well, we have to move on now, but the great alchemy is coming in with the seventh ray, the great alchemical worker, it's called. And of course, we all know that it's the human being that is being transformed from baseness into a golden quality. So what I'm going to do right now is read a little bit of what's here, and then I think we may be at the end of our work for this particular webinar for tonight.
But I was just thinking we could be ending the way. How many participants?
Well, there's still a few more. And there.
So that we could do this matching and see the 4 in 4.
Well, I'll let you direct whatever you want to, but let me.
You should pick every single participant that we call those disciples from their country, just that they say the country.
What country? Okay, that's fine. And remember that some distortion in sound may occur if I unclick you all. So that means you have to be very quiet around your computer. So Annette Dutoit says, when one becomes radiative of the energy of loving kindness, compassion, etc., through right refinement, one will attract those who need it to the field of service where one is at. Well, I think it's often the case. You make it a question mark, or they can, it is a magnet, for sure. Just the way the Christ and his principal students became great magnets. Look, our work is with ourselves, it's obviously. And there's so much unfairness in the world right now. If we clean our own house, we can help in some appalling, unfair situations in the world. But we have to really open our own quality. The soul is the quality of life, right? Isn't that what DK says all the time? Or through love and action. Or through love and action, yes. The beautiful thing, you go on here. Yeah, okay, that's what you say. And thank you. And there's one more here from Anna. The beautiful thing about shadow work, you know, it sounds like modern psychology, of course, under the fourth ray, really. When we approach it with openness and self-compassion, our consciousness creates a feedback loop where it works with us to set the healing process in motion. We start breaking cycles and uncovering hidden aspects that are ready to be integrated. It wakes us up into new versions of ourselves, yes, and opens the doors of the new possibilities. What I'd like to say, Anna, the fourth force psychology appeared on the horizon in the mid-20th century. And this was the psychology that honored the transpersonal self. There's something there, Jung began with it, called it the individuation center. It's a higher center, probably really the soul under another name, which is uniting and integrating all of our forces. But then let us now be aware of the following. Master DK introduced fifth force psychology with all the technicalities of the specific energies which work in specific ways to bring the person into a state of initiation. And I'm going to show you very quickly what I mean by this, the different methods of teaching that are found in the different groups. And so, let's see, city planning. I usually find it that way, although it's not that way at all. Ray 5 method of teaching. Ray 5 method of teaching. The science of the soul, esoteric psychology. Ray 5. And then the lower expression, the modern educational systems. In DK, we get all of the, not, well, you never say all, but we get the principal energies, zodiacal, planetary, of the creative hierarchies, ray energies, which make the human being what he or she is, and we get them specifically, and we're told how to handle them specifically using the fifth ray. And it eliminates the mysticism out of it and paves the way for a country like France one day with its fifth ray soul and its Pisces soul to reveal the science of the soul and to reveal the soul in a scientific manner. All right, look, there's so much to do, and that's just another way of serving. Now, Tuya, what would you like done here?
So that is like a little ritual that we will be doing together. So we would be ringing the bells.
Okay.
First.
Okay.
And then we would call the world servers in every country to act, come together, and then every participant on the other side of the screen, you would be clicking their mic so that they could say,
okay.
For instance, if a person is from France, then the other person from Austria.
It may be slow that way, because if they have muted themselves, we're in a problem. So I better unmute everybody.
Yes. And then everybody says we are quiet, and everybody says one by one according to the name.
Your nation. You give your nation.
Right. And everyone, every other participant, we are with that person who is voicing the country. So we all imagine at the same time calling these servers together. So this festival week is about that we try to strengthen this group. And we are actively calling now everybody into activity, because that is our responsibility. Then when the group has been gone through, then we move in this room. And when we have gone through everybody, then we say together the mantra, may the power of the one life, and so forth. And then we have 1 minute silence and ring the bells. And that's
okay, I've got to find may the power of the one life.
It's actually when you have this, the schedule. It's on the schedule.
I'm sorry,
The schedule, what you have there, click that.
Which one?
That's on the schedule where you have these. There you have, may the power.
Oh.
Magic.
Yeah, magic. Okay. So I'm going to unmute you now. Please be very quiet.
So all of us, we are very, very still.
And make sure you are not muting yourself, such as Asha, you have muted yourself. Annette, you're self-muted. Otherwise, we cannot. I tell you what, this is going to create. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the original way. Okay. I unmute you, and you give your country. What is that? I unmute you, and you give your country. Okay.
So we all are quiet. Let us say to ourselves, we imagine the indigo disc. Before that indigo disc, we all stand. We align with the festival week, and we are aware of the energies, strong energies which are now pouring by the constellation of Capricorn, reaching our solar system, and via Saturn pouring into our planet Earth. And this group, which we call the Little servers, are those who are meant to respond and use these energies. The average humanity cannot yet utilize these energies. within our hearts and minds, we try to reach now all of the servers everywhere in whatever is their particular way of serving. We call all of them to act, to bring forth the plan. And now we will call servers from all of those countries, and their representatives are going to tell the name of their country. We call word servers to act from the following countries.
Okay. So make sure you are not self-muted.
And all of the others, we are with that person who is now voicing the name of the country.
And this is going to go quickly, so concentrate. Anna, the country.
UK. UK.
Very good. Your attention. Ann Parker.
United States.
Thank you. Annette Dutois, you are self-muted. Unmute yourself. Go ahead. Can you speak? Antoinette Dutois, I believe it's South Africa.
Yes.
So we can't get the voice, but we can. Okay. Asha is self-muted. Yes.
USA. USA.
USA. Thank you. And you're self-muted, Brennan. Country? Can you speak? It's USA. Britta Dar. Britta, can you speak? It's Denmark.
Yes, seems I can. Denmark.
Okay, there you go. Cassandra Coertz. And
she says
self-muted.
She says she can't speak, but she says she's in the U.S.
U.S. Okay. Catherine Pryor, you're self-muted. Go ahead.
Australia.
Australia. Now you concentrate hard on each person and their country. Diane Bolbachan. Diane.
Diana, Venezuela, South America.
Okay. Venezuela, South America. Elena Menegou.
Yes.
Greece. Self-muted, Frida.
Frida says Canada.
Okay. Jeff Logie.
New Zealand.
Good. Gloria Fungansky.
du ha en romantisk citysemester. Inom Mondo kan du hitta inspiration till nya resmål som passar din budget.
There's some problem.
Inspireras och se hur du kan åka.
She said Germany? It's not what the name would reveal. But Heike is. Heike Bobert?
Germany.
Yeah. Joan Schofeld? Yourself muted? Just click your microphone until it's green. Yep.
USA.
Good, thank you. And Yohi Lee, yourself muted.
Johi says Korea.
Korea. Okay, everybody. Transfer your thought to Korea. Karen Gritska,
United States.
United States. Catherine Powers,
United States.
United States. Catherine O'Brien,
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Leslie, here's Leslie. Self-muted Leslie.
United
Go
States.
ahead. United States. Louise Langdo,
Canada. Canada.
Canada, is that correct?
Yep.
Thank you. Lynn Murguia. And yourself muted, Lynn. But it's America. Okay, if I, yes, Lynn?
USA.
USA. Okay. Thank you. Martin Deezer? Yourself muted, Martin? Okay, it is Argentina. Michael Starcrow, yourself muted. There you go.
United States.
United States. Thank you, Michael. Mirna de Rungs. I think Mirna represents Brazil, but is somewhere else now, if I'm correct. You can speak, Mirna? Okay. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Okay, Nyenka? Is it the Netherlands, Nyenka? Or you can speak. Okay. RW?
America.
Okay, thank you. RW. Reiko Yakanishi.
Oh, yes.
What is this?
Japan.
Sorry? Nakanishi. Japan, thank you.
Japan.
It's good to have you here.
Michael, Mirna
Yes.
says Brazil and Switzerland.
Okay, Brazil and Switzerland, yes.
And
Very good.
Martin,
Thank you.
Martin says, sorry, he was still muted by an organizer. He's from Argentina, but currently connecting from Chile.
Thank you. Just think of the countries as we go. Reza, You're self-muted. Go ahead.
United States.
Thank you. And Sarah?
Sarah says,
United States and Jerusalem.
Okay, so that's Sarah Odette. Thank you. Teresa. Teresa Pluth.
United States.
Did you get it? United States, thank you. Okay, and Thubui Kim. Thubui, it's obviously Vietnam. Are you there, Thubui? Okay, probably, but. And the World Servers Network, self-muted.
Yes, here is Antonella from Italy. Hi.
It seems to be all over the world, but headquarters in New York, I would guess. And Anne Veronica, self-muted. Is it Greece, Anne Veronica?
Greece.
It is Greece. Thank you. And BL?
US, and Asha would like to add UK as her place of birth and India as her ethnic nationality.
What did I miss? It doesn't make any difference what I missed. And Michael Stacy?
US.
Okay, thank you. And I'll give myself the US and Finland. And now I'm going to go into our room, and please speak up strongly. And so, Helena?
Slovakia. Joanna, America.
Arjo, Finland.
Maria Rosa, Spain.
Risto, Finland.
EU, Estonia. Margot, US. Helma, US and UK.
Joke, Belgium. Marianne, Sweden. Leah, Australia.
Now let's think of all the countries that have been mentioned as a group of nations.
As like one voice of invocation, we call world servers to act, to come together and raise in consciousness, so that this linking going on between throughout the human affairs becomes stronger and effective. These new energies pouring in. We build very, very strong body of cooperation over the borders, throughout the planet, from country to country, group to group, individual to individual. May the power of the one life move through the group of all true servants. May the love of the one soul
characterize the lives of all who seek to pay the great price. May we fulfill our part in the one word through self-faithfulness, harmlessness, and right speech.
1 minute silence.
Thank you. Everyone, tomorrow is the 27th. We begin at 5:50 a.m. GMT with some meditation on science. At 8:30 a.m. we'll be working with the 7 ashgrams. And then we'll have work on the cycles of the new group of world servers and other interesting aspects of the new group of world servers work. And then there'll be work on the science of approach. And in the evening at 8:15 p.m., we'll discuss something about an esoteric United Nations. So thank you. We've had a full 2 hours here, and this will be available to you in converted form on Makara. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Lots of love. I can't do that.